It's been like consistent, like 10K above months.
Downloaded it, I checked the date, July of 2021, and then I left my job in September of 2021.
Since then, I've sold websites, I've pivoted my business, I'm no longer doing social media management.
What has been like your highest month?
13K.
It has literally changed my life.
When you were designing on WordPress, were you charging way less? Like, what is that like?
Yeah, way less. I think my first WordPress was like $500.
$500 for a WordPress site versus like up to $5,000 for a Showit site. All right, you guys, welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited for this because we just met in person and I know how amazing you are as just a human and I gravitated towards you. So I just know that everyone who listens to this is going to be obsessed with you. So thank you, Sacia, for coming on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. Okay, so we were just chatting because for everyone who doesn't know, Sacia is the founder of Ashe Design Haus, and you're in Long Beach, right? That's what I remember. You're in Long Beach, California, which I love. And we just met in LA actually, and so that's kind of how this all happened. And so she's been a student, been in each other's worlds, and I've actually referred some people to her because she's an incredible Shopify designer, which is so fun because obviously we're like Showit people, but I think you're such a great reminder that you can be successful on any platform. Like it's not specific to one, and you really have expanded into like your own, you just have a vibe. Like when you see your page, it's exactly why I've sent your page to my friends that are like, I need a Shopify designer. It's genuinely because I land on you and I'm like, you just have that energy. So I'm so excited that you're here. Why don't I pass it over and Sacia, just give us like a quick rundown, like who you are, give us like just a quick little, give us a little spiel.
Cool. Yeah. So I found you originally when I was just beginning college because I was business obsessed and I had like an e-commerce business and I found you in that process and started using Showit and all of that. And I really enjoyed Showit because I was good at like Figma and doing actual design. But when it came to trying to translate that on a website, it would never come out well on like Webflow or WordPress. And so Showit was really new to me because it felt very drag and drop and like easy to translate the design from something like Figma or Adobe XD into an actual functioning site. And that's kind of how I got my start in business. I was primarily serving interior designers on Showit. And what I found really attractive was like the community aspect. And so as I started interacting with more of the community behind Becca Luna and all of the people involved in that, I kind of found more of my path and talked with a couple of the students who helped me find my niche more. I fell into designing primarily for product brands, which use Shopify. So that's what I do now. I'm a creative director, and then I specialize on the website side in Shopify design. And I kind of found my way originally in the beginning of college through Showit and designing on that platform. So yeah.
I love that. And what was it about Shopify, or you even said that like some students through the journey also helped you find your niche? Like, what were you really looking for out of this that then ended up like having you land on Shopify with your current niche? Like, what were you really seeking out of all of this?
I think when I first started my business, I really went into it. I think a lot of people like go into it seeking freedom or seeking some type of specific income goal. But when I went into my business, it was literally just because I really enjoyed like the creative side of website design, which is a little bit weird. And so when I started doing Shopify design, I liked certain elements of creativity there where I could really dive more into the coding side, but also have a lot of creativity on the branding element. And that's why I love product design too, because I really wanted to see like my designs on a shelf in real person and touch it, feel it, and bring it to life that way. So that's why I fell into that industry.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you clarified also that you just genuinely loved the art of it, essentially, like the creativity behind it, because you're so right. So many people initially either have freedom, like in a time sense, or it's financial and it's like money. And I always try and remind people, I'm like, the money is great. Like, yes, we all need to make an income. Like, shit's expensive, our economy is expensive, but it's so much bigger than just the paycheck or like whatever your income goal is. Like, that's great, but and that's business, but also it's about being deeply fulfilled in what you're doing. And I think not everyone can even really understand that because of the way that our society is. And it's like, get a job and it's not being fulfilled. Like, they're like, what does that even mean? No. But I love that you honed in on that. What has that been like on your journey of finding fulfillment in your work? Like, did you always know that that was a strong priority for you, or has that kind of evolved?
Yeah, I love that you bring up that concept of fulfillment too, because that's something that attracts me to like your brand and also a lot of students who I've noticed have done really well. Is there is that deeper level of fulfillment in some way, whether it's like the creativity part of web design or the business side. But I think for me, what brings fulfillment to my work is the creative side. And so web design is just one outlet that I'm able to bring that to life. But the creative direction and coming up with a concept and having all of these different elements play together is what feels really exciting for me. And also the fact that a website can generate really tangible ROI for someone. Like they can see sales that change their life or their family's life, and they can see sales that allow them to achieve this dream that they've had for so long. And having that come to life is really fulfilling in like a people interaction way.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that because it's really like the value of the work that you do. And I think people don't understand that really. And they have a hard time thinking, like, well, who will pay for this? But it's like, no, it's an actual real value exchange. But I want to come back to that. I am dying to know because I read in your thing that you were wanting to be a lawyer. Like, what? Tell me, fill me in. How did you go from lawyer to web and brand designer? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I don't know like why I really thought I was going on the lawyer path because I literally went into school originally to be a nutritionist, and then this is going to expose my ADHD, but originally nutrition, and then I switched over to like design marketing. Um and then I switched to psychology and then back to design marketing. So where I thought law would fit in, like I really don't know. But I went into school just assuming I would get my undergrad in whatever, have really great grades, and then go to law school. I'd wanted to be a lawyer for quite a while because when I was in high school, I literally told my principal that I was going to be president of the United States. Um, that's how I got into my high school. So I had that as my path for so long. And I think it's just because I didn't see a future that was creative for me. My parents are both creatives and I saw them struggle in certain ways financially. And so when it came to like me having a creative career, I thought it was always just gonna be like my side hobby or something I did to get by until I became a lawyer. But the more that I learned that it was possible and the more I saw like real expanders around me and people who were doing the thing and making $1 million from web design or being able to like scale these huge agencies, the more I saw it be possible for me. And I kind of set
Mm.
that law school dream aside because my boyfriend was the one who told me like put all your eggs in this basket and just see how it goes.
Mm.
Um,
I love that. Wait, we love a supportive king.
he was the one who really pushed me to do it. And it ended up working out because I think if I had tried to stretch my focus to like law school and bringing this vision to life, I wouldn't have thought as big. But when you pour everything into it, like on the forefront, and that's your only option, there's no option B, you end up working a lot harder to bring it to life. So, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned your parents, if you're comfortable going there. You mentioned that they're creative, but that you didn't really see that being a path because of the financial struggle. And that's something that I have talked a lot about in that it's kind of that very stereotypical like starving artist vibe that we've all been bred to know. Like, oh, if you're an artist, if you're creative, like you're going to be broke. How was that growing up? And has there been money shifts or like mindset shifts from seeing them struggle to the now you valuing your work, making money, charging, and having that like actual exchange in a positive way for yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my whole family is like a family of creatives. We're kind of different in that way where I haven't seen many people in my family. Actually, I don't really know anyone in my family who has like a corporate job. But
Love
some
that.
of them do better than others in my family for sure. And so seeing that growing up, I kind of saw modeled to me a lot of people who were very creative and doing exactly what they wanted, but didn't know how to manage their money well. And so
Mm,
for me, when I went into this career, it wasn't that I necessarily didn't think it was possible to like generate income. I knew that was possible. And I knew that if you just showed up and had people who wanted what you could provide, you would make the money. The part
mhm,
that scared me more was like the logistical side and understanding how I was going to support a team over not just 1 year, but like multiple years, how I was going to navigate like ups and down in income, changes in interest. As someone with ADHD, I was nervous I couldn't even stick to it. And I would see the same model in my family of like they would be doing really well and then they would lose interest and kind of go downhill. And
mm.
so I needed to expose myself to people who were doing the thing, but for like years on end, and who had turned it into not just a job, but like an actual career that evolved with them. So that was the biggest difference between like first seeing it how it was modeled in my family and being scared of that, to understanding that even if there were ups and downs or shifts in interest that I had or like changes in how I wanted to do things, I could still navigate that and make money through all of those different seasons.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. It's almost like you saw the realistic side, which of course those things are all there, right? Like you do have to at some point acknowledge it and work through it. And it's this resistance piece. It's like how quickly can you come back when something like that happens? But also learning how to almost use it as your greatest asset too. Like if you are super aligned in your business and let's say you want to change a niche and you're like, no, I'm really into this new niche. I want to like double down on this. Like if you can do it strategically and then find the right people that will then feel your energy. And so it's like it's a cool lesson that you had being raised and then learning the tools of how to actually make it work for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 1,000%. And I think too, something that's kind of not talked about that much, especially when you first come into the industry, is like once you're kind of exposed to one area of online business, it's very easy to think that the grass is greener on the other side. Like,
Hmm.
well, I could make this much doing web design, but like I see people doing email marketing and making this much money. So maybe I need to do email marketing, or maybe I need to learn how to run ads for people, or like there's so many things that you can do in the online space. And so part of why it's helpful to have a community like the Becca Luna one is because you can see people who are very devoted to the craft and understand, oh, okay, this is something I need to like decide on and stick with for a
Hmm.
bit longer than a couple of months if I really want it to succeed. So,
Yeah, I love that. That is, I maybe don't flex it enough because I was going to say that's like one of our biggest flexes of BLE is that I have students who are still doing web design, web design, web design 4 years later. And that's just very hard to find, especially in a creative. We are in the online world too. Like I have seen so many other industries where there's almost like there's a time gap. Like it's like 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. It's like insane if you're still doing it. Where web design really, it's a commitment. Like it's not, it takes especially if you want it to be your work, like you are like a creative, you're an artist, you're like birthing these things for these clients. I love the word that you used, devoted. Like when you become devoted to your work, it's a lifelong craft that you can evolve with and ebb and flow with and go into different directions with. But that is something that I truly believe in for web design. So I love that you said that.
yeah, it's a skill for sure.
It is a skill. I also wanted to touch on, you mentioned that your boyfriend was the one that kind of pushed you to go all in. What was that like? Because I know that a lot of people, I've been very blessed to have Willow be kind of in my corner, but I hear way too many times, honestly, from so many students and women that don't have the most supportive partner, and they're like, "Oh, that's cute, like that little business. Oh, are you sure you could do that?" Like, "Oh, what was that like for you?" And do you feel like that was a big catalyst in you actually going for it to have that support?
Oh my goodness, yes. No, I did not have like I definitely had my fair share of people who are like, that's dumb that you're doing that. Specifically, my parents were like, you're not a good designer, like you should do copywriting, you're good at copywriting, like you're not a good designer.
Oh
And
my
they
gosh.
still, even now I'm a lot more successful and they think my design work is good, but they still think I should be a copywriter, which I find really hilarious. Um, so they're still not like necessarily the most supportive on that front. And then I had my grandparents who will like support me no matter what, basically, as long as I'm not being dumb. But my grandma definitely was a bit nervous and didn't know if this was as viable as having a corporate job.
Mm,
So my boyfriend really was the one who not only pushed me to do it and like go all in with it, but he was my support system. He even was like, if you ever need help, like you can train me, I'll help you. So he's just such an angel. Like I love him so much. And having even just one person, like if you can literally find one person, they don't even have to be in your family or your partner to be in your corner. I think it's such a game changer because if you're trying to do it all yourself and you're the only person who believes in yourself, like go you, that's incredible, but it does get a bit tiring to be the only one who believes in you. So having him as like such a big supporter and also an accountability person to not give up the second it got hard and to like
mm,
really want to work through every season, even when I had a season where I only got one client that month or I didn't know like where my next paycheck was coming from. It was super helpful to have his confidence in me and know that whenever I was navigating something, I could bring those emotions to him and have him be there to work through them for me. So, or not for me, but with me. Yeah.
with you. Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned just if you don't have that, finding one person who will be that for you, which is so, so key because doing it all alone, like, yeah, maybe it's possible, but also who, like, you need someone when you're at your lowest to pick you up and boost you and give you that motivation and be like, no, you're on track. Like, you've got this. I see you. I like that validation. And then also when you're at your highest, like, who's that same person will be there to celebrate with you and be there for your wins and really see you and honor you. So I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, finding one person to be that for you is, I would say, almost critical to grow to the level that you may want to grow to.
Yeah, it's so important. And if you are someone who has like a lot of doubters or people who are saying like, "Oh, that silly little business, what are you doing with that?" As you start to get clients too, I think it's even more important in those situations to like save every testimonial and every screenshot that you have of someone saying you did an amazing job. Or even if they're not a client, like, wow, I love your content. This was so helpful. And being able to look back at that because as you grow and do hit hard seasons, having those like little lights are really helpful, I found as well on the support
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, I love that so much. So let's talk about the timeline for a second. So when were you in college, like on Show It, thinking that you were going to go that route?
Yeah, so I started my business in it's 2025 now. I guess I started it in March of last year. So March 2024.
Oh my gosh. For some reason in my head, I was thinking that you had been doing it for longer, but you've been doing it for over a year now. So you celebrated your 1 year anniversary in March of this year.
Yeah, so I've been doing web design for like multiple years, but I was on Squarespace and I was just doing it for free and like for my own businesses. I wasn't actually like selling it as a service at all. And then I officially started this business after I started on Showit about a year ago. So
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations first. So proud of you. I feel like that first year mark, you're like, okay, I'm actually like, I'm doing this. I'm in this, which is so cool. So congrats. But when you first You took CEO of Showit and Wealthy Web Designer. You took those at the same time? Like you got those at the same time?
Yeah, so confession, I'm like a very much a self-starter. So I started CEO of Show It. I like skimmed the videos and I kind of was like, okay, this is like pretty easy. I got this. And I just like learned from there and I would refer to them on the go. But I went through the entire Wealthy Web Designer before I started because it gave me the foundation I needed to like even understand what the heck a web design business was and like how to develop one. So it was really helpful for that. And then CEO Show It, I kind of used after I got clients more if I needed a specific like.
Yeah, reference point.
Mhm.
With that, so going from like, I don't even know how to start a web design business, and then taking Wealthy Web Designer and then starting it, how long of a time period was it from wanting to do it and acknowledging that you wanted to take on clients and take on paying clients to then actually securing like your first paid client? Do you remember that timeline?
Yeah, so I found you, I think in like mid-April. I watched your creative career course. I realized that this was definitely what I wanted to do. I invested in CEO of Showit and Wealthy Web Designer at like the same time. And then I remember watching Wealthy Web Designer like on the treadmill before school. Um, and once I had watched enough where I felt like I could start working on it, my first step was developing my website. And so the second I finished my website, I just started cold calling people, which I
Oh my gosh.
actually
I
I
love
recommend. Like it worked pretty well. I got my first client for 300 bucks, and I know a lot of people get their first clients for free. So it worked for me. And then the second client I got from like cold DMing people on TikTok. Um, yeah.
I love it. I love that you're not afraid to put yourself out there. Like that takes serious confidence in yourself and your ability. And I feel like it also says a lot about your character. And even that you mentioned that your parents don't always super support and like kind of question. Have you always been super confident in yourself to just like you have an idea, you want to do it, you're just going to go for it? Or has that kind of developed as you've gotten older?
No, that's kind of always been like it's weird because I'm definitely very shy in terms of talking, but in terms of creating businesses specifically, I feel like that's what I've been put on this earth to do for some reason. Because every time I've had a business idea, I kind of just like start doing it the next day. So the second I saw your ad and like decided that I was going to start a web design business, I remember calling my boyfriend and saying, I'm going to make 10K from web design. And he said, okay, prove it, I guess.
Do it.
Yeah, and so I just kind of decided once I've made a decision, like I go very all in with it. So I've always been kind of that way. I don't know if it's necessarily confidence or just like hyper obsession over a topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that clearly works for you. I love it. Um, Cold calling, though, that's interesting. That's been on my mind since you just brought it up because it's so not how I have done business. And I always tell people, I'm like, what I've done isn't like end all be all. Like, you have to find what works for you. Here's my advice of what has worked for me, but take it or leave it. Like, it's not, black and white. And so that's a really interesting thing. And I love to know that it worked. If someone was listening to this and let's say they haven't booked their first client yet and they are like, I don't know how to do it. I've been showing up on Instagram and just like, I haven't gotten that attraction or momentum yet. What are some tips for someone who could like literally start today and find the right people and actually maybe close a client from cold calling?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a cold calling expert. I'm pretty sure I got lucky with the cold calling thing because I signed my first client from like the third cold call I made. And it was because I had cold called a real estate agent. And real estate agents, like after I signed him, I realized that real estate agents are really known for cold calling themselves.
Mm.
And so I think he took pity on the fact that I was like a young girl cold calling him.
Like, I am so sorry. I will pay you just out of pity.
So I definitely think that's like why I signed him. But if you wanted a client today, I would say maybe not cold calling unless you live in area like I do, which is LA or Long Beach, like I just cold called local businesses here. Um, I would honestly just go to a networking event if you feel like your social media isn't your strong point yet and continue doing social media, but that does take time. So if you're looking for like a client quickly, like try to message people in your family and friends, and then definitely network in your area because that's going to end up being a lot faster at first than social media. And then after you get more experience on social media and you start making actually like good content and you feel really confident in that, then that will definitely be faster. But at first, I think you do have to hustle a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, as far as your brand goes, have you evolved your brand at all, or is like what we see online was your first go at it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. My brand has evolved so much, and I think that's okay, honestly. I I know that as brand designers, we want to have the best brand out of the gate, but I, looking back, definitely wouldn't advise someone to even invest in their own brand
Mm.
until at least a few months because you're going to shift and change so much. So even if you do have the money to invest in that, I wouldn't because you don't really know what you're gonna like, and so you might end up wanting to rebrand a few months later anyways. I think my branding has always been pretty and aesthetic, but like the messaging behind it was really the game changer. And once I fully understood the type of person I wanted to attract, that's when I was really able to lean into the visuals. And my current feed I really like, but I didn't even plan it out that way. It kind of just I fell into that because I started to understand my ideal client more. And so when I started creating content and visuals for that person, the branding kind of fell into place, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, yeah. And do you feel like as your brand has evolved, that your price point and not your worth, because your worth has always been there, but like the way that clients have seen you do you have an easier time charging your worth and raising your prices as your brand has evolved over the last year?
I think pricing is interesting. I think it depends on like who you're calling in. I feel like I've always attracted certain people who are willing to pay a lot more than others. So I wouldn't necessarily say that my Instagram branding helped with that. What really changed the game for me though was my website. So
Mm.
I noticed I was able to sign people with a lot less hesitation. So
Mm.
even though my prices didn't necessarily change, they kind of did because the amount of effort that I was putting into trying to sign that client reduced, which saved me money like on the time front. And that came from my website redesign because people trusted me a lot more.
And what if you could name like two things from your website that you feel like did that for you, what would it be?
Yeah, first of all, I cut down my portfolio a lot and I really honed it in. I used to have so many pieces on my portfolio, even pieces from like when I went to art school,
Mm.
that were super random. And so I think that less is more on the portfolio front. If you can have like 3 to 8 really good portfolio pieces that directly speak to the type of person you want to sign, that is going to serve a lot better than having all of your work up there. So I cut out any like service-based portfolio work
Mm.
that I had because I didn't want to call those people in. And I only left on like my most favorite product-based brands on my
Yeah.
portfolio.
The most aligned that are going to bring in the people that you want today. Like the Sasha today, who do you want to serve? That's what's on the portfolio.
Yeah, because I think you can have like great copywriting, great messaging, but if you're a designer, your portfolio at the end of the day is like going to speak to your clients the most. And so having that super aligned portfolio was really important for me. And then the second thing for the website, I think, was just having a brighter aesthetic and just a clear aesthetic. My old website was very dark, very heavy. It felt like every other designer's, like kind of
Mm.
that dark neutral vibe.
Mhm.
And so when I was able to break out of that and bring in some life to it and speak more to like branding that attracted women of color and like people who were my vibe and people who were in LA, I started signing the same type of person, which was really nice because they were a lot more aligned.
Yeah, I love that. And you also, before we got on this, said that your backdrop, which is a freaking vibe,
Yeah.
that you have booked more people since having this. And what did you say about the mango? You fill them in.
I literally had a client who signed because she was like, mango's my favorite fruit. I love the vibe of your backdrop. It's so beautiful. Like, I have to sign with you. So I think that just goes to show that visuals and the way that you present is so important, even with content. Like, I noticed that I was consuming a lot of like business coaches who said the way that you show up in content doesn't matter. It's like what you're saying. But I do think I noticed that when I wear certain sunglasses or like dress a certain way or really show my fashion personality in my content, I not only get more views, but I get more aligned customers coming in. So your aesthetics and the visual way you present, especially as a brand designer or web designer, is very important and overlooked, honestly.
Yeah, I love that tip. Love that. Love that. Um, so you mentioned that your first site was $300. Was that your first client ever that had ever like that actual money exchange, $300?
Yeah, that was my first ever
Oh,
client.
and that was last March?
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so then last March, $300. What was your what's been your highest paying client since then?
My highest paying client has been 7K, and that was for not actually web, that was just branding. So, I think my highest website client now has been 6K.
Oh my gosh. And what would a site like that include?
Honestly, it's not that different than like what a smaller site would be. It's literally just a few more pages.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think that people who come in at those higher prices are often a lot more prepared
Mm,
versus people who come in at a lower price. It's not necessarily that I found that they expect more of me or like demand more or don't respect my price.
mm,
I still tend to attract people who do respect my time and my pricing. It's more of just that they're less far along in the business journey and they probably shouldn't be investing yet anyways because like they don't have photos, they don't have the money for photos, they don't
yeah.
have copy, they don't have the money for a copywriter, they don't even know what copy is. And so it ends up being a lot less energy to work with higher paying clients because they come in ready to make the investment. They already have photos. They know what it takes to invest that much.
Yeah.
They're often thinking through that purchase a lot more. So even though they might be slower to sign, you end up with a client who's a lot more thorough and have thought out that decision and know that they want to work with you specifically. So yeah, it used to intimidate me that those clients would be more thorough and like ask more questions and maybe be a bit more demanding in the sales process. But at the end of the day, I found it's beneficial because they're more prepared.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I totally agree. I always talk about like how a $500 client is going to be so different than a $5,000 client. And a lot of the time, like 99% of the time, they're going to be so much easier. Especially clients that are well versed us in an experience that you are providing, like meaning they have invested in web design before. Like if you can work on with a client who it's a rebrand, like maybe they've done it a few times and they just want something maybe on a new platform or with a new designer. They have walked in the shoes. They're not going to have that like first buyer mentality where every single thing is like, it's so different. And so I do think that even price point, like it's not always that you're delivering more. Oh, I delivered 12 more pages and this and that. It's like, no, it's the actual value. And also, like you said, someone who can invest 6K because they are making X in their business and they're super established, like it's going to be a no-brainer. And a lot of the time, their value is actually even more beneficial to them having a website than someone who can only afford a $500 website.
Yeah, honestly, the more I've been in the industry, the more I've realized that because I do really care about people, and I think most service providers, I've heard you mention this as well, that like most service providers do really care about people and want the best for people. And I've found that people who are coming to me with like a really low budget for a website, or even maybe you're a really good salesperson and you are about to push them over the edge for that site. I've turned down those people before because it's not actually going to give them ROI. And there is a time and a place to DIY things.
Yeah.
And if you're going to spend 500 bucks on a website designer, like you should get a template and DIY it, because you're not necessarily at the stage where you should even be offloading that. Like there is benefit to understanding how it works before you outsource.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
I totally agree. What has been like the biggest one big takeaway through the last year of you growing to the point that you are? And like, first off, I just have to say I'm so proud of you because really what you've done is so incredible. And just like the way I would say that you are the best example of stepping into your brand. Like you just really have embodied, and like I view you as someone who has been in your business for 5+ years. Like you have that confidence about you. And so that's a huge testament to you. So just want to say, I'm so proud of you for that. But I'm sure it's not always been super easy. What has been one big takeaway that you're like, wow, I wish I would have known that before? Like, wow, if someone else is going on this journey, like I want to plug them with this advice.
I okay, maybe I'll give two, because I can't decide. But I would say the first thing is I don't want to give like the generic advice of don't rush, but I will say it's all going to feel like it's not moving and nothing is happening and it's not working until it starts to work. And
Yeah.
so you have to kind of trust the process. And I would hear people say that in the beginning and not trust that. But
Mm,
it really is like if you're listening to the right people, like if you're listening to Becca's advice, if you're listening to people who you trust, and you're actually showing up with integrity and doing what they say, and you know that you're showing up at the best of your ability and like you're willing to improve over time, even
mm,
if it feels like it's not working right now, marketing is a lagging activity. So like everything you're doing right now is going to pay off in 3 or 6 months. So just keep going. And the only thing that's going to make it not work is the fact that you're going to give up in a week because you thought you were going to have $20,000 already. Like
mm.
that's really not how it works. And most businesses take 5 years to grow. So if you are growing and it's been like 3 months, you should already be proud of yourself and just keep going with it and not give up until at least a year. Preferably
Yeah.
like not until several years. If it's still not working, then you definitely need to shift something, but give it some time. And then the second thing I would say is make sure that you are pushing yourself out of the comfort zone, because that's where I've noticed like the biggest growth happen. So going to the networking event, going to the in-person meetup, like the more that you can meet people in the industry and collaborate over compete or feel like AI is coming for your job or like another designer is coming for your job and actually collaborate with people, the more that you'll start to see success and also feel like you have a community in it as well.
I love that was like the best advice like ever. I was like literally taking notes. So thank you for that. Um, okay. I have two more questions to round it out. One, we'll start here. If you could go back to the version of you, let's say you are in school, you're thinking you're going to be a lawyer. What is one thing that you would tell you back then?
I think I would have told me back then that the fact that I kept shifting and changing is okay and that there's a time and place for experimentation, but eventually I need to just trust myself enough to decide on something and run with it. Because even when I first started my web design business, I think I would be in an even further along place if I had actually trusted that I was good at web design, that I liked web design, and
Mm,
that I wanted to run with it versus like doing it for a month and then trying out all these different things in the creative space and then coming back to web design anyways. So, yeah, I would tell myself to focus a little bit more.
and trust yourself. I took that from what you said. I love that. That's great advice. Okay, last question. What is in your horizon for yourself and your brand? Like where in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, where do you see yourself?
I am starting to build out a bit more of a team. So I think in 1 year, I really see myself having a larger team. I am a weirdo and like really like managing people actually. So I would love to have more people in my team and maybe even go in person would be super cool. And then I also see myself and my agency specifically leaning a lot more into the art direction side.
Mm.
That's what I'm pursuing my master's in, and so I really want to start incorporating that more into our work and our offers, and doing less small projects and really working with larger companies who have the budget for these big campaigns with like celebrities and influencers and things like that, and managing that side. So that's like my 5 year vision for it.
I so see that for you. You will 100% do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, you are incredible. You are destined for huge things. Thank you so much. Where can people follow you, hang out with you? I am like, I can guarantee you that people will flood your Instagram because of just how amazing you are. So, where can people find you?
That's so sweet. Thank you. You guys can find me on Ashe Design House on Instagram. We're launching, or I guess relaunching our free masterclass soon. So if you're a designer and you want to learn more about like how we specifically conduct our brand process, especially if you're a web designer and need like more help on the branding side, then you can check that out. And then our website is Ashe Design House if you want to stock our portfolio, or any of that. I would love to connect, especially if you're a new designer. I love giving advice. I'm a yapper. So
I love it. Yay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I am just so proud of you. So, thanks again.
thank you so much, Becca.